right now they're sitting, I think, at 2 or 3 in the NFL draft order. One isn't a stretch, I think, for the Steelers. And then you have a decision to make. If they win one more game all season, now it's, well, can Kenny Pickett play well enough to win you games? Or, do you replace him? Do you draft Will Anderson and get 2 elite pass rushers? Does that really help you? I think the Steelers could be in a tough position if Pickett doesn't achieve wins, and you have to decide, like, is this your guy? They're too stubborn. They're going to stick with him. But I think the calls to get, like we talked about, a couple of elite quarterbacks in this class, we certainly didn't have that last year. Could be a question that they're facing.
We are talking to Draft Countdown managing partner and analyst Shane Hallam. Shane, you were talking about, obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers, but there are a couple of surprise teams this year that we expected to be better than they are right now. The Broncos, I don't know what's going on with them and Russell Wilson. Maybe he's hurt. I have no idea what's going on with him. Maybe I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I'm not throwing the coach under the bus. I know a lot of people can't stand the coach already, but whatever. And then there's the Vegas Raiders that are, to me, the most shocking out of them all, because I expected this team to be a lot better than they are, adding Davante Adams. Davante Adams can't keep his hands to himself. The man doesn't shut up. He really maybe is sitting back in his nice, beautiful $5 million lazy boy right now and thinking, should I have gone to Las Vegas to play with my good friend Derek Carr, or should I have stayed in Green Bay and played with the greatest quarterback in the NFL in Aaron Rodgers? I don't know, but I think he's starting to believe that he made a big mistake. What are your thoughts to the Broncos and the Vegas Raiders? Are you surprised that both of these teams have been that bad?
I am. I had every team in that division winning 10 games. Like, I thought it was going to be that kind of thing. That was a horrible mistake. I can, Cold Takes Exposed can retweet me or whatever, because that was pretty bad. But I think both teams can still be pretty good. Like, Denver's defense is really, really good. And so you just have to expect, okay, at some point, Russell Wilson, maybe he's not going to be the Russell Wilson of old, but he's got to be better than this. He's missing some, like, easy throws.
Geno Smith's better than he is right now. Who would have thought that? I mean, seriously.
I mean, did any of us say, like, oh, yeah, the problem last year in Seattle was Russell Wilson, like, and Seattle trades him and they're going to get better? Like, no one expected that to happen. We thought Seattle's tanking this season and going to draft the quarterback, and now the Broncos they're in panic mode because they've given up. It's kind of like the Rams. They gave up all their draft picks, and if you're bad, it's not going to be good. But I think Denver will get it back. I think Russell Wilson will at least get a little bit better. And they have the receivers. I mean, Cortland Sutton looks the best he's ever looked. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a chance. Vegas, I think there's some bigger issues at play here. Mm-hmm. They're running the football well, but Derek Carr is consistently under pressure. And Darren Waller didn't, basically got hurt last week, but he has not played well. They've barely targeted him when he's been in the game. Like, you have this other weapon that's now getting single coverage when because of Davante Adams that never did before, and you just stop using them. You're throwing to Mac Hollins instead. Like, that's not going to work. I think the Raiders defense just is not great. They can rush the passer. Max Crosby's excellent, but I think that second level and that third level are very exploitable. I think teams are finding easy ways to quick completions. You can run up the gut. You can get 5 yards of carry. I just don't know if the Raiders defense is going to be good enough to bounce back from this.
Well, that's what happens when you lose your best corner last year, one of the best in the league in Hayward, and then you trade another one for whatever reason, Arizona. not the brightest front office, and I thought Mike Mayock was the problem, but again, the next guy's not much better. So I know you're also into fantasy football as well. A lot of surprises so far that we've seen this season, especially with a lot of the top running backs so far in the league that have really struggled. Are you surprised so far, and are there any of them that you think of those like top first-round running backs that you think could still bounce back?
It has been rough. I think Jonathan Taylor, when he comes back, it might still be a couple weeks. I think he'll bounce back. I think the Colts offense with Alec Pierce back there, the offensive line is getting healthier, is getting better. Never going to be great. That game against Denver, I wanted to rip my eyes out last week watching that one. But I think with Jonathan Taylor, I think he'll be better, start to score some touchdowns. But I think there are guys like Najee Harris that are just going to be sunk value and is not going to bounce back, so it is a little bit surprising because it has been, a lot of these kind of backups, or a guy like Ramondre Stevenson, I think is going to be a monster for the Patriots moving forward, and Breece Hall for the Jets, and Kenneth Walker we talked about. Those are the guys that are performing. And even though like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Miles Sanders, the running backs you left for dead, that I don't want to draft those guys. They're icky. Like they're doing great. David Montgomery scored 20 points last week. Jeff Wilson scoring points for the 49ers. It is super weird. I think Taylor bounced back. I think Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara, those guys will be fine. But yeah, it hurts, especially if you had like Javonte Williams and you lost him, and some of this, it's tough.
Shane, Kyler Murray is everybody's fantasy, champion. Last year, I had him on all my fantasy teams. His numbers were fantastic, even with his injuries and coming back in the second half of the season. He played a big part on why my team, was half decent. This year, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't. Fantasy-wise, his numbers are absolutely horrific. And anybody that drafted him as their number one guy and every single week by week, starting this guy, hoping that this guy is going to take off. I love Kyler Murray. What is going on with him?
I think the biggest thing for fantasy is he's not running. He's just not running the ball anymore. He's had one game over 30 yards rushing, one game with 8 yards rushing, only 2 rushes. I think he's averaging something like 5 rushes a game. Like it's not what we saw last year. I think that really helps in fantasy. We're seeing with Lamar Jackson, coming back and running more. When it works, it works. I think on the other end, Arizona's offensive scheme, I don't know what's going on, but they seem to just give up until late in the game, and then he just pelts Hollywood Brown with targets and hopes it works. It seems to be the game plan. So I'm hoping when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, it does reignite a little bit. I think they need that outside threat. I think losing a guy like Chase Edmonds, though he has been very good for Miami as a pass-catching back, has hurt. So I think Kyler Murray just needs to I think it'll get better. I don't think it's going to be great. I don't think he's going to turn into what Jalen Hurts is doing this year or anything. You're going to get back the old Kyler that won you your league. But I think it's got to be a little bit better moving forward.
Kingsbury gets fired?
They just signed him to that extension. Like, can you really just eat that and fire him and hand him $50 million, hand him a bag? Like that's tough to swallow. I don't think it happens during the season. I think they'll at least, unless it gets real bad, but they're at least 2-3. I think they'll wait till the end of the year if they're going to do that.
He has to learn how to realize, did we get a first down or not before spiking the ball? That would be helpful. They could have tied that game, went to overtime, and upset the only undefeated team left, but no, they decided to do that. So I want to move on to your college team. I know you're a big Ohio State guy. They've looked very good so far.
Fantastic.
And
best team in the country.
Really the only team that really hasn't had like that close scare type matchup so far, where they didn't really look under their standards. So what team do you fear most when it comes to Ohio State, your impressions of them when it comes to the top 5 teams, the powerhouses, and also is there still a threat in the Big Ten like a Michigan or a Penn State that you should be afraid of?
I think Georgia is still the biggest threat, to me in terms of a top 5 team that I think could run the table and win a national championship again. Not that like Stetson Bennett, their quarterback, really thrills me, but the defense is still really good. I know they've had their issues, Kent State and Missouri, but even in those games, they gave up 22 points, and that was like everything's on fire. So if the defense is playing well, you're lucky to get 20 points. I still think that is ridiculous in college football right now with the way teams are scoring and the way offenses are. So I think Georgia, Brock Bowers, their tight end, is super athletic. He's running 70 yards for touchdowns. So they have some really scary weapons on the team too that can get big plays, and that's all they need. I think the Big Ten's tough. I don't know if there's a huge threat to Ohio State. Like, I think Michigan obviously is the biggest threat. We'll see how the showdown against Penn State goes this week for them. But being in the big house, I think is helpful. I mean, their running back, Blake Corum, looks, he's much smaller than Hassan Haskins was, but looks every bit as good. I mean, he's 4.3 speed guy in that role who's averaging, a ton, over 6 yards a carry, is crazy good. And JJ McCarthy, their quarterback, good choice picking him. He can actually run a little bit. And Michigan still has some of the most athletic defensive linemen in the country. I think they're good. I don't think they're as good as they were last season from an entire team perspective, but I think that's the team that worries me the most. And Penn State, as long as Sean Clifford's the quarterback and not the true freshman Drew Aller, I think they're not going to go too far against a good defense.
We are talking to Draft Countdown managing partner and analyst Shane Hallam. Last question for us, Shane. College football. Who has been the surprise of the college football season? I mean, obviously, we expect the powerhouses, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Michigan. But who has been the most surprised as far as where they are in position to possibly make that Final Four position? And who do you think has completely fallen off where you thought they were going to be so good this year?
So I'm going to give two Big 12 teams because TCU is really surprising me. I thought this offense would be an absolute dumpster fire this season. Max Duggan, quarterback, I was like, this guy can't play. 14 touchdowns, 1 pick, running around back there, has over 200 yards rushing. They're spreading the ball out to different receivers. Quentin Johnston finally had his breakout game, potential first-round pick at receiver, but their running back, Kendra Miller, they lost Zach Evans, who was a top 5 running back in the country, lost him, and they're fine. They're winning. That's surprising to me that they could, drub Oklahoma like they did, and then competed with Kansas, won that game. I think it was a push in terms of the spread. So I think they're a team that could. The Big 12's not super strong. Like they could definitely make a statement. Texas might be bouncing back here with Quinn Ewers back, but I think TCU is interesting, and Oklahoma's probably on the other side is the team that I didn't think would be this bad. I thought, okay, new coach. The Venables hire was interesting, not what I would have gone with, but they brought in Dylan Gabriel, who has had some success in college. They still have some good receivers. I know a ton of guys transferred. It's still Oklahoma. Like, they should be decent. And, I mean, that Red River rivalry game to lose 49-0, I've never seen that in that game. And Texas is not – a top 5 team. Like, this is not a team you should lose 49-0 to. It just really hit me. And I'll real quick, I got to drop James Madison moving up to FBS and making the top 25. Nebraska hasn't made the top 25 in 3 years, but James Madison does it in 5 games.
Congratulations to them, by the way.
Yeah, and they're not allowed to win the conference. They're not allowed to go to a bowl game. I'm like, they moved up. Like they should be allowed to do that. I understand if you move down a level, but geez Louise, they're really good.
They upset Appalachian State, who upset Notre Dame, so they should mean for something.
Yeah. Honestly, that was a great game. It's wild. Even like Arkansas State, Texas State aren't pushovers. So I'm hoping JMU just runs the table and they don't know what to do.
Give me a break about Notre Dame, man. That is a dumpster fire right there. Not only are they're going to be firing their coach, they're going to be looking for a coach. And by the way, Brian Kelly, where are you? LSU is not even in the top 25.
Getting Keyshawn Boutte to quit on him is what they're doing.
Joke. Oh, man. College football at its best. Brian Kelly. What an idiot. Anyways, Shane, thank you for joining us as always. We'll get you on very, very soon. We love when you come on. You know your stuff throughout social media. The Twitter fans love you. You're the fantasy guru. Many, many people tell us about how smart and how much you know in depth when it comes to the draft and how you set up your draft class and everything like that. So check him out, Shane Hallam. Fantastic analyst when it comes to draft and NFL and managing, just everything that he does. It's fantastic.
No, look, I appreciate the kind words and always appreciate coming on with you guys. It's always fun to cut it up and talk about the stuff. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Shane Hallam, ladies and gentlemen.